Hey guys, Carrie here. We're talking about vocals starring me. Just kidding, it's probably going to be Andy talking a lot about vocal production.
Well, if you insist. Here are some details about Carrie's vocal chain in this session.
She tracked How Soon Is Now and the rest of the Takes Covers project through this Neumann TLM 107, running straight into the box through one of these 1073s. All right, and then in the box, throughout the song, there's no harmony or vocal layering that you're meant to hear. There's vocal layering you're meant to feel. So there are actually 4 simultaneous vocal tracks, 1 front and center. Don't you move, how can you say? And then a pair of left and right stereo makes the vocal full and 3-dimensional. It occupies more of the stereo width because of this reinforcement. Move, how can you say? And this fun little guy, which on its own, it sounds ridiculous. A third double, dropped it an octave, and we've changed the format and sounds bizarre on its own, but when it's blended in, it helps to contribute to the force of the main vocal. Move, how can you say? You know, all together. Shut your mouth. How can you say? Each vocal track is going through a ton of processing. Melodyne, of course. We are pop. We are doing pop punk. Carrie did not need a lot of love or tuning, and we were not super aggressive with it. Getting processed through an SSL channel, some light EQ, a little bit of compression, and of course, just whatever the character of that algorithm is. Some de-essing. We're whacking it pretty hard with an 1176. How can you say? The Pro Q3, not doing very much here. Then we're whacking it again with a clone of the distressor, and then we're adding some saturation. On this bus, once it hits there, we have a very short tape delay, which kind of thickens everything hitting that bus up just a little bit. We have an EQ curve. I don't know. It's what my ears wanted to hear. IDX, Intelligent Dynamics, which is just helping us deal with resonances. Then we have RVox. Not doing a lot of work here, but just kind of glue. More EQ after RVox. Actually, some pretty aggressive moves on this one. Finally, going through a little bit of lo-fi. It's very slight. And then we're doing even more. We are processing the very high range, the air, separately. So here we're just taking out everything except for, kind of 8K and above. And then we are hitting that again with an 1176. That really just like smooths out the top end. And then we're basically blending that in with the fader. And then each one of these things is feeding off into various reverbs and delays as well, which we automated throughout. So there's not sort of a consistent reverb on the vocal or a consistent delay on the vocal, but rather they duck in and out, and we're actually kind of riding the faders, so to speak, on them throughout the track, and also sidechain compressing them so that they bloom a little bit after the main vocal line hits, and the two don't conflict. Tons of processing on the vocals, of course.
If he gets to nerd out on like drum mics, maybe I can work in some vowel resonance modification or some semi-occluded vocal tract theory. We'll see. Anyway, I'll tell you about what recording vocals was like. Vocal up, you think they're listening, but I actually flew to London to visit Andy in his studio. When it comes to vocals, I think a lot of singers would agree. It's extremely helpful to have like a vocal producer in the same room. My brain cannot simultaneously multitask singing and performing and audio engineering and anything technical. If I have to think about clipping or levels or God forbid push a button, having Andy handle the technical side of things.
This compressor, you're going through 2 compressors. Oh, and actually I didn't even touch the SSL channel. Let me do a little bit of...
And also just being an audience, having someone to sing to. And then with Andy specifically, having years of experience together, we kind of have a shorthand.
Sick.
Woo! Can I get some more hand in my headphones?
Need more hand?
And we can move really, really fast when we're in the same room together. We decided I would fly in for a weekend and just do like a marathon recording session. Yeah, this is gonna be a good take. Okay, ready.
Cool.
The plan was we wanted to finish vocals for 2 to 3 of the main tracks for the Takes Covers project. And then if we had time, we would play around with this Smiths cover that's been on our list forever. But it was definitely a stretch goal. We were like, Want to give it a shot? Why not?
All right, we can listen to a little bit, or the original, prototype. This dates back to 2021. This was just me fooling around in the studio. It's kind of the conception of our take of the song. Okay, so there's a couple of fun stories about this. The Smiths' original track was in the key of F sharp mixolydian. I dropped that down a full step to E mixolydian, thinking that that would be optimal for Carrie's vocal range. And what we discovered when she got here, we learned that I had picked exactly the wrong key. It was neither low enough nor high enough for her to perform the song adequately. What we did then was we took all of the stems from my demo and we just used a pitch shifter to bring it down another full step. What she was hearing in her headphones underneath her vocal takes was my original demo prototype from 2021, which had been pitch shifted an uncomfortable amount in order for her to sing to it. And then what we did is we rebuilt the whole song underneath her vocals from scratch. One really weird consequence is this song is at 100.5027 beats per minute.
Classic. Very specific.
It's very
definitely
specific.
Intentional.
It's no. I don't know. It was supposed to be 101, I think. I don't know why. I don't know how we wound up at 100.5027 beats per minute.
It's what the song needed. It wouldn't sound good in any other BPM.
100.5027. That's where we are.
Exceptional.
So Jeremy and M were awake and able to join us on like a video chat. It's complicated how we do this. I'll let Andy speak more to that if he wants to. Just seeing Jeremy's reaction to me trying these takes, just him go nuts. He was such a hype man that it kept me amped up.
It's so funny.
Until my voice completely gave out. We were like, well, why don't we wake up early in the morning and see if we can finish it before you have to leave for the airport. Somehow, that plan actually worked. But we finished it, finished the song, hit the notes, made my flight.
Nailed it.
Okay.
We got it.
I'm not sure how that was pulled off. My vocal cords were legitimately dead. Some of the more Morrissey-esque, like rawness, might just be because my vocal cords were legitimately compromised and I didn't have a choice.
Well, we can take a look. Let's go back to the pre-edit takes. So, first verse, first line. We only did 4 takes, but we're using take 3 of the 4. That's the one we wound up with. So yes, the late takes. Very tired voice at this point. And since we're here, Carrie's going to hate me for this, why don't we hear just the absolute raw take? So this is straight off the mic through the pre and a little bit of EQ on the way in and nothing else. Vocalists love when we do this.
I'm the sun and the air.
I want to talk about lyrics for a second. How Soon Is Now has porch song lyrics that are so simple, like anti-poetry, but it's embarrassing to say out loud, and that's, I think, what makes them so powerful. Love Hurts is a great one. I Don't Belong Here line from Creep. Anyway, with How Soon Is Now, I kind of went from this abstract understanding of what the song was about to a very visceral one in the recording booth in real time, 25 seconds in to the song on take 1. The moment I heard the words shyness that's criminally vulgar come out of my mouth,
oh, shyness that is criminally vulgar.
I just, even now, like, get goosebumps, which I think is the emotional thesis of the song. It's reframing shyness, like what I would describe as like loneliness in motion, the kind you feel in a crowded club when you're around people but feel invisible, which is relevant because I had flown in from Berlin to record this. Berlin being a city which is well known for being very social, very club driven, and I don't really like techno music, loud, crowded clubs. And I've had so many nights in Berlin where I go home from a club wondering, what is the point? What does everyone get out of this? It's just an anxiety attack. So singing, there's a club if you'd like to go.
There's a club if you'd like to go. You could meet somebody who really loves you.
It just like hit a little too close to home. Add to that, post-COVID, it's the first time that Andy and I have been in
Same room.
in the same country in many, many years. We're drinking whatever the UK equivalent of PBR is.
That would be Camden Hells. A similar flavor profile, but significantly tastier and higher quality.
Jeremy, look. Woo! Yeah, cheers.
Nostalgia overload. It feels like no time has passed, and suddenly I'm belting, I'm human and I need to be loved.
I am human and I need to be loved.
And I'll just say this, like, there's not a ton of performance that was required. A lot of what you're hearing is a cathartic experience that I think comes through, hopefully. I think covers only really work in two ways. One is when you're leaning into more of a tribute. You stay really close to the original material. You're saying, this song is perfect as is. How we did our Offspring cover.
Come true.
Mwah. No notes, Dex. The second is when you are basically trying to translate the truth of the song through a different lens. I think covers don't work when you just try to imitate the original without understanding what made the original great. So with all that said, here's some vocal stuff. What did I borrow from the original? This minimalistic singing style. Morrissey sings almost speech-like.
I'm the son and heir of nothing in particular.
It feels very little like he's performing and more like he's just confessing something to you. And I tried really hard to borrow as much of that restraint as possible, even though, like I said, I like to sing, but there's an intensity that comes from that withholding that was fun to try to hold on to. Another thing is using vowel sounds that are very narrow and very forward. There's very little attempt in his voice to sound pretty, like you would with very rounded, sort of more opera-sounding vowels. And he does it a lot on long held notes. The word vulgar, you would never sing vulgar.
Criminally vulgar.
You need to try to make it sound pretty, but Morrissey has this fantastic way of singing with these narrow nasal vowels. The reason most singers don't sing with those types of vowels is because they expose all kinds of problems in your voice. So it's riskier, but I tried to borrow a lot of his narrow vowels because while risky, it tends to feel intimate and very raw and non-performative.
A shyness that is criminally vulgar.
And then I'll just admit I straight up stole his glottal attack on the word air. Let me nerd out for a second. A glottal attack, it's like the sound you make when you're choking, like and an onset is how you start a note. You can start a note by just singing it like or with a little bit of fry. Anyway, he has a beautiful glottal attack on air when he says, I am the sun and the
air.
It's my favorite part of the entire song, and I ripped it off.
And the air.
So, there you go. There's 3 places where my musical DNA took over. In the original, his vocals have this brilliant, under-supported breathiness to them. It feels like he's running out of air, and phrases kind of trail off and don't always resolve, and it creates this longing that makes the lyrics work really, really well.
Of nothing in particular.
But I'm a millennial, and I'm heavily influenced by melodic grunge and pop music, and sometimes I can't avoid resolving the melody, even if it's obvious, because it's so satisfying.
Nothing in particular.
The second is where Morrissey is much more speech adjacent and a lot less dynamic in his range. which in the 80s read incredibly well as super vulnerable. But again, we're a pop punk band. In that 90s and 2000s sort of alt grunge genre, vulnerability still shows up, but just in a different way. It shows up as distortion, confrontational. So what can I say? I added some belty notes.
Just like everybody else does.
Singers like Courtney Love, especially, really proved that you can sound detached and furious all at the same time.
In demonology, hey, so that you could make it.
I mean, that's grunge's entire trick. Okay, and one final note on vocal glitching, because Out Like Pluto has always and will always love a good vocal glitch. And if there's one word that I would use to describe our cover and the music video, it's definitely glitchy. And it's a very contemporary choice. It's very fragmented and interruptive. It's overload. It's disassociation. It's the opposite of silence. And in that way, we're doing with production what Morrissey was doing with like vocal restraint, both creating an extremely vulnerable, isolating vibe.
Howdy. Whether you've enjoyed these deep dives or you're bored and just want us to get on with the release, we've got good news for you. This Saturday, Valentine's Day, 14th of February 2026, we will be releasing, finally, our How Soon Is Now cover and accompanying music video. We'll be streaming it live on YouTube as a premiere, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. Central European Time. You can quickly access the premiere at outlikepluto.com/premiere. We'll all be there. We can have a chat. We can watch the video together. You can ask some questions. You can give us your live critique. You can lob water balloons at us. I don't know, whatever you want. We're just looking forward to sharing the song and video with you all. We'll see you then.